Tonight on VCU InSight.
VCU researchers are trying to get back to work after a flood destroyed millions of dollars in research.
A plan to clean up a historic Richmond cemetery is underway.
And the controversial Shockoe Bottom redevelopment plan continues to move forward.
All this and more?
VCU InSight starts right now. Good evening and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Matthew Hall.
And I'm Randy Ayala. Thanks for joining us. A ruptured city water pipe led to the flooding of a research lab on the medical campus of VCU last November. Now, officials say they're looking at millions in damages, but what some are saying is the biggest loss, a lifetime's worth of research. InSight's Allison Bauer is in the newsroom with details on how researchers are being affected. Good evening, Allison.
Good evening, Randy. It's a problem, a big problem, to the tune of millions of dollars. Some researchers have lost years of work, and others are starting completely from scratch.
The flooding of Sanger Hall last year has led to a disruption in the research process for investigators who worked in the building's third-level basement. Dr. Jerry Strauss, Dean of Medicine at VCU, says the total expense to the institution in terms of renovations and lost equipment is over $1 million.
The effect was huge.
But Strauss says although equipment is replaceable, collected research specimens are not.
It's not clear how some of these individuals will recover their research programs in the absence of this critical resource that they've lost as a result of the flood.
8 feet of water flooded into Sanger Hall's mechanical room, shutting off backup generators and turning off the power for the building.
The intangibles, the innumerables, the loss of special specimens that have been collected over years are basically irreplaceable.
Officials say the flood happened during the construction of a tunnel connecting Sanger Hall to the Children's Pavilion. Because of the construction, the floodwater made its way into the second-level mechanical room and eventually into the third-level basement, where research specimen and equipment in 4 different laboratories were directly affected. Associate Vice President of Facilities Management at VCU, Brian Olinger, says that researchers needed to try and recover what they could, if anything, to continue their research.
We had to get the researchers back in for those that had specimens stored in the freezers. So they were back in within hours of the initial break.
The impacted researchers have been relocated to VCU's Contos building and other parts of Sanger Hall. The total $6 million in damages will be covered partly by VCU's self-insurance company, and a private insurance company will foot the rest of the bill. Back to you, Matthew.
Thanks, Allison. Some students in VCU's resident halls are reporting more sightings of insects and rodents than usual. Officials say the university spent $70,000 on pest control in 2013. According to the Commonwealth Times, that comes out to about 1 rodent and insect trap for every dorm room. The Assistant Director of Residential Life and Housing at VCU, Allison Patel, says this is probably because of all the snow and cold weather Richmond faced this winter. It could also be attributed to more students having food and other items like microwaves and fridges in their dorm rooms.
March Madness is in full swing, and the VCU Rams are back in the NCAA tournament. The Rams lost the A-10 finals to St. Joe's, but the team still got a number 5 seed in the Big Dance. Head coach Shaka Smart says the most important thing is for the team to stay together and regroup to move forward. Senior guard Rob Brandenburg says they need to use the loss to St. Joe's as motivation for the tournament. Brandenburg doesn't want to end his college career on that loss, so he says the team will do everything it can to be ready for the next game. This is the 5th year the Rams have made it to the Big Dance. If cycling is more your sport, officials from the UCI Road World Championships announced the routes for the upcoming cycling competition, which will be held in Richmond in September 2015. Of the courses being announced, the one that's generating the most interest is the road circuit. The course starts at the convention center and cyclists will ride through Shockoe Slip, up Libby Hill, down a steep hill on 23rd Street, and then head back through downtown to finish. So far, there are 4 courses in total. The finish line for all will be held at 5th and Broad Streets.
Do you have an interest for foreign films? The French Film Festival is coming to Richmond at the end of the month. InSight's Zarmina Wasim is in the studio with this coordinator, Peter Kirkpatrick.
I'm here in the studio today with Peter Kirkpatrick. He and his wife are coordinators for the French Film Festival going on March 27th through the 30th at the Byrd Theater in Richmond's Carytown. Thank you so much for being here, Peter.
Thank you for inviting us, Zarmina.
So to start off, let's talk a little bit about the history of the French Film Festival. I know that this is going to be the 22nd year. What has that journey been like for you?
Well, it's been wonderful. I mean, it's through the labor of love of VCU students, University of Richmond students. When Francoise and I, we created this festival 22 years ago. Every year has a dynamic with the students, as well as also the actors and directors that come over. This year we have 47 actors and directors flying from Paris to Richmond to be with our students, to be with other students and faculty and people to come truly across from every state in the United States to Richmond to discover these brand new films from France, to meet the actors and directors, have conversations with them, and to hang out in Carytown with them, which you can't do at any other festival, to spend time with these French equivalents of the Tom Cruises and also, you know, the Brad Pitts. So it's a dynamic that's unique, and if no one's ever experienced this and you live in Richmond, they need to check it out.
So how are you able to afford having the actors and directors come all the way from France to here? Because I know each film, the cast and directors are here.
Well, that's what makes this festival such a success story. It's not only being able to show it in the beautiful historic Byrd Theater with 1,400 seats in it, but it's also the fact that the festival itself, the budget of the festival is truly the pass holders and the ticket buyers that come to it. So it's healthy in that sense. There's local sponsors from Carytown that join in, and the sponsors, you know, from France, and well, all that creates a dynamic which just continues to celebrate the beauty of and the diversity of French film. And don't forget, France gave us cinema to begin with.
Well, that's good to remember, definitely. I know that the French industry and the French ambassador have recognized you guys for the work that you do. Have you received any recognition from the American industry?
We're touched by the French Directors Guild, the French government, who have bestowed, you know, some of the highest awards in France on Francoise and myself. Truly, the reward here on the American side is to be a professor of French here at VCU and to see what goes on during the weekend of the festival between our students and these famous actors and directors that come in from France to be with us. It's something that it far exceeds any type of award or any type of monetary value. Monetary value, I will say that we're all volunteers. Everyone that comes to work in the office, they're all volunteers, interns, students. And so it's truly an interesting dynamic that we enjoy being part of every year, Francoise and myself.
So you could have chosen any city. Tell me a little bit about why you chose Richmond and why you choose to keep the festival here.
Well, Francoise is a professor at the University of Richmond. I'm here at VCU. I also grew up in Richmond. I've been here since I was 4 years old. So, and the Byrd Theater was the first place I ever saw a French film. So I'm attached. My roots are here. However, the Byrd Theater we're very fortunate to have here in Richmond still. It's a cinema that is known for how large it is. It was created for film, and so bringing the actors and directors, they want to come to show the film, to show their films to the American public here in Richmond in the Byrd.
And the Cannes Film Festival is going to be helping you guys out with the theater seating. What's going on with that?
Sure, we have a partnership with the Cannes Film Festival for years. We bring their projectionist over. They tweak the Byrd, and now just this week they've announced that the seats in the Salle Lumiere and Byrd and Cannes will be coming to the Byrd. So those famous seats where actors and directors have been sitting will now be here in Richmond.
Well, we can't wait to see what this year is going to be like. I've been speaking with Peter Kirkpatrick, a coordinator for the French Film Festival. Peter, thank you so much again.
I thank you for inviting us. Thanks.
College Board officials say major changes are being made to the SAT test. So far, the changes include an optional essay portion, updated vocabulary terms, no penalties for wrong answers, and the option to take the test on the computer. And for the first time, College Board is partnering with the Khan Academy, a nonprofit who will help provide free test preparation beginning next spring. The redesigned SAT will roll out in spring 2016 and will include 3 sections: reading and writing, math, and the optional essay portion. The last time any updates were made to the SAT was in 2005.
The Richmond City Council is trying to keep negotiations moving for the Shockoe Bottom redevelopment plan. However, if the whole plan doesn't get approved, the slavery site still may be on the table for debate. When Mayor Jones first proposed the Shockoe Bottom revitalization plan, he said it was an all-or-nothing deal. But last month, members of Richmond City Council voted unanimously to push for the slavery site separate from the rest of the plan. Richmond City Council President Charles Samuel says that some were hesitant about moving forward with the Slavery Museum.
A development plan that would really work, whether or not it was something that was really was a wise investment of the $11 million taxpayer dollars.
That $11 million is coming directly from the state. That's about a third of the estimated total of $30 million for the heritage site. Part of that money goes toward the creation of the museum, along with the renovation of the Lumpkins jail site and slave trail. Samuel says this will be something else to put Richmond on the map internationally. The Richmond City Council recently decided to keep moving forward with the Shockoe Bottom redevelopment plan, meaning that right now the Slavery Museum and Heritage Site is still part of the entire plan. But one resident says the only way Richmond will see the new site will be if it is separate from the ballpark. Churchill businessman Rick Tatnall runs the website Replenish Richmond, which encourages residents to get involved in city planning. He says removing the Shockoe Bottom slavery site from the plan is in the best interest of the community.
It involved potentially separating the slavery site out, and I think that's the direction that we should go. And I think
Tatnall says he strongly believes that Shockoe Bottom needs to remain focused on its rich history, a history that includes slavery.
It's the epicenter not only of our community of Richmond, but it's the epicenter of America because of the history that's down there. So.
The city administration says they'll make a final proposal in late March. Then the city council will vote sometime in June.
You might be seeing fewer Radio Shack stores around Richmond. The company announced recently that it will be closing over 1,000 stores across the country. The company's sales dropped 19% in the last quarter, which included the holiday shopping season. Radio Shack is one of the biggest U.S. retailers with over 5,000 locations. There are about 10 Radio Shack stores in the Richmond area that could be potentially closing down, but the company has not yet announced which stores will be closing. A state senator from Louisiana is looking to create more seasonal jobs for the Virginians. By making the sale of fireworks legal, Senator Tom Garrett from Louisiana has introduced a bill that would lift the ban off some fireworks. At the moment, the bill has passed through the Senate as well as a subcommittee in the House. According to NBC 12, the bill has not received opposition from the Virginia State Firefighters Association either. The bill would not allow anyone under the age of 18 to possess fireworks. The governor and the House of Representatives still may be able to stop the bill before it goes further.
On any given day, Monroe Park is filled with dozens of homeless people. A new plan is underway to make changes to the park. But what does this mean for those who have made this park their home? InSight's Shanique Yates reports.
Monroe Park has been the heart of one of VCU's main campuses and has been the name of the academic campus since 1994. Thomas Huff is the vice provost for life sciences at VCU and is a part of the council whose main goal is making the park better.
It's a VCU that is all around Monroe Park, so there is a kind of organic fabric between the history of VCU and the history of Monroe Park.
That same fabric is why VCU students, such as Alexis Nelson, fear that construction to the park will interfere with efforts to help those in need.
But I'm still worried that them redoing the park will take away from the place that the homeless have to gather, and to collect and get food.
The Monroe Park Conservancy is the nonprofit organization that is partially responsible for the changes that will be made to the park. Phone interview with President of the Conservancy, Alice McGuire Massey. She says that the closing of the park should bring awareness to the amount of homeless people that call this place their home. A $6 million budget has been set to make changes to the park. $3 million will come from the city of Richmond, and the other half will come from the Conservancy, who plans to raise the money once plans are finalized. For VCU InSight, I'm Shanique Yates.
Some people are hoping the new plan will help bring awareness to the city's homelessness problem.
A Richmond area teen collapsed and died after completing a half marathon in Virginia Beach. Officials say 16-year-old Cameron Gallagher died after finishing the Shamrock Half Marathon. Officials say he completed the race but wasn't feeling well after when wasn't feeling well after when she went to a first aid tent. She was taken to the hospital where she died. A cause of death has not been released.
A historical member of the Black Panther Party was spotted on VCU campus. The former leader of the party, Elaine Brown, visited VCU, lecturing about racism and other issues, and signing copies of her book. Brown travels across the country giving lectures about eliminating racism and class differences and moving toward an equal and unbiased society. Brown's book, Taste of Power, summarizes her life struggles against oppression and opposition, both before and during the era of the Black Panther movement.
A historic Richmond cemetery has been taken over by weeds and overgrowth, but a plan to clean it up is underway. InSight's Carter Johnson is in the newsroom with more. Good evening, Carter.
Good evening, Matthew. The Evergreen Cemetery in Richmond's East End is in dire need of some cleanup. And now, thanks to a $1,000 grant from VCU's Aspire program, the cemetery is getting just that. And the makeover is helping visitors see the history through the trees. The 4 cemeteries at Evergreen are the final resting places of some of the city's most prominent African-American figures, notably Maggie Walker and John Mitchell Jr.
Evergreen down the road here was once called the Black Hollywood. It looked the same, rolling hills, grass, and all that.
While some of the tombstones here are well kept and beautiful, others are covered in weeds and shrubbery. Tombstones like this one are completely unrecognizable behind brushes and overgrowth. This is why VCU Aspire stepped in with a $1,000 grant to provide tools such as rakes and loppers for the cleanup effort. Aspire took on the task of cleaning up East End Cemetery as a part of their plan to take on sustainable projects with sustainable partners. Aspire is a living learning community based on community engagement. Dr. Mary Slade, director of Aspire, hopes to return the cemetery to normal and give it back to the people in East End.
I see a connection that our students make to our community where they really do want to serve.
While the main focus is on community engagement, Slade says that the students are also gaining valuable lessons on the history of African Americans in Richmond.
They get here and they see the Bojangles statue, or they see the Maggie Walker house, and start realizing how much of Richmond history is rich Black history for the whole country or for Virginia.
Aspire has stopped working on the cemetery for the winter, but will continue their cleanup effort this month. Back to you, Randy.
Thanks, Carter. VCU student Stephen Daniel just got his fashion line sponsored by a big name. InSight's Shanique Yates is in the studio with Stephen Daniel.
I'm here in the studio with Stephen Daniel, a VCU student and leader in the Group Moda fashion organization. Thanks for being here, Stephen.
Thank you.
This year's show was themed the Night of the Seven Sins. Could you tell us about how you and other members of the group came up with that theme?
Well, actually, we wanted to do something a bit different from the past. I know Group Moda's now been around for 16 years. So every year we try to come up with a theme that is different from the last, that really kind of hasn't been done. And we were all brainstorming. We had things like good versus evil, trapped in the mall, array of things. And then we were in the library, and then we heard the zoo, 7 sins. He just yelled it out in the library, which was like the funniest thing. And we was like, why not do the 7 sins, but do it with a plot twist? Okay. We talk about sins that we normally do on a daily basis that people glorify.
And what does a theme like this do as far as expressing fashion?
I know that when people, they think of sins like, how can you express that through fashion? But I know, for instance, when we did gluttony, we did it with prints because prints make you look bigger. And when we did envy, we did a lot of not pastels, I'm sorry, but we did a lot of stripes and stuff to kind of show off like that wavy type feel that you may have towards somebody. So we just use the fashion in a sense to kind of tie it all together. Okay,
we have some video. Could you tell me a little bit about how you all got an organization such as ASOS to sponsor the show?
Well, actually, I'm a brand manager for ASOS. So when I told them I was the president of a fashion organization on campus, they were thrilled because one of the projects as a brand manager is we have to do a fashion show. So when I told them I'm already the president of one, they were like thrilled. So they said that we will do anything we can. We will sponsor it. We'll send you clothes, jewelry. They also sponsored the goodie bags and everything.
Okay, do the student models in the show, do they hope to do this professionally?
Actually, we do. We have 2 models a part of New York Fashion Week. We have more than half of the models are in Richmond Fashion Week. My executive board, they all served in Richmond Fashion Week. Myself, I've done fashion shows outside in Atlanta, North Carolina, different places, so.
Okay, and what does your group look for when you guys are selecting models for your spring shows?
Well, we look for everybody because we promote diversity. We promote, a lot of people, they say, well, I'm too short to be a model or I'm too big to be a model. We tell people we accept everybody because a model doesn't mean that you have to be a size 0 or you have to be 5'11". This is a school organization. We're here to promote fashion in the way that we see. So therefore, you can be plus size, skinny, short or tall, and we accept you.
Okay, I know that you aspire to go into the fashion industry upon graduating. How has leading a group such as Group Moda prepared you for this?
Well, it's done a tremendous work, actually. At first, I wanted to go to law school, which is way off. And I was a model with Group Moda. Then my first semester being with Group Moda, they asked me to be the president for next year. So getting to be the leader of Group Moda and meeting all these people, getting all these connections kind of shifted my aspect of not wanting to be a lawyer anymore. Still kind of on the back burner, but more so getting into event planning and image consulting. Okay. So all these people that I've met, they gave me business cards and all this stuff, and they've been helping me along the way kind of as mentors. So.
I have been speaking with Stephen Daniel, a VCU student and leader in the Group Moda Fashion Organization. Stephen, good to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in with us.
The urban farmhouse is back in the heart of the city, opening its 3rd location in Churchill. The locally owned cafe had its grand opening in the Lava Lofts on 33rd Street earlier this month. The location includes an expanded marketplace which sells prepared food, along with seasonal and locally sourced food and drinks. Owner Kathleen Richardson says the move will allow the cafe to be part of a neighborhood while bringing clean and healthy eating to Richmond. The new urban farmhouse is 3,000 square feet and is located on the ground floor of the apartment complex. The restaurant's other locations are in Midlothian and Shockoe Slip. The Maymont estate has become a hot spot for locals and visitors alike. This 100-acre property has now become the #1 visited attraction in Richmond. Henrico resident Darcy Wilson and her family say they visit Maymont a few times a year. Wilson is just one out of another 500,000 visitors who have contributed to making Maymont the #1 visited place in Richmond.
Well, my granddaughter loves to come to see the animals, and I do too.
Park volunteers used to count those visitors by pencil and paper. Now, with the help of these new infrared sensors Maymont installed last year, they can reliably count the number of visitors for the first time ever. According to a tally done by Richmond Region Tourism in 2013, Maymont topped the list for most visited attraction. Maymont's Kathy Rosenberg says those numbers are important to Maymont's operations.
We rely on donations so heavily. The Maymont Foundation has to raise all of the money for the upkeep, and so those numbers help us go to county and city officials and request funding from them.
Rosenberg stressed the importance of visitor donations, which makes up close to 40% of Maymont's $3.4 million operating budget. Maymont looks to continue to bring in guests from all around the world to entertain and to even educate.
We just really hope that our guests enjoy exploring Maymont and really using Maymont for building memories.
The Richmond Regional Tourism Service says the top 5 most visited attractions were the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts in 2nd place, the Children's Museum of Fine Arts in 3rd, Lewis Ginter Botanical Garden in 4th, and finally the Three Lakes Nature Center and Aquarium in 5th place.
The Robinson House, located on the campus of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, was recently named a National Historic Landmark. This comes on the heels of the Robinson House being designated as a State Historic Landmark in September of last year. The house was built by prominent banker Anthony Robinson in the late 1850s and later served as the first residential complex for Confederate veterans. The VMFA plans to open the Robinson House as a Richmond Regional Visitor Center in the summer of 2015.
And finally tonight, runners, take note. A local startup website is encouraging people to raise money for a good cause by running in local races.
The website, called Dedicate My Run, lets runners race for a cause, person, or charity of their choice. InSight's Terrence Dixon reports.
Rob Parton ran in last year's Anthem Richmond Half Marathon. This year, the run is personal for him because he is running for his friend's mom who has pancreatic cancer.
It was kind of just a calling to me.
Parton wants to raise money through a new website called Dedicate My Run. It lets runners like Parton fundraise money. Racers can send out emails and messages with a link for friends. Laura Essex started the site in late January when she wanted to raise money for Alzheimer's, the disease that killed her father. The site currently has less than 40 registered users and has raised just under $2,000.
And so when I started looking for a way to, marry running any race with any charity, I wasn't finding it out there. So I started to think about doing it myself.
Now, this website creates a smoother path for people like Essex and Parton to sponsor their runs and organize events with charitable donations. Essex says her site allows runners to donate any amount of money without any restrictions on how much or how little they can give.
It's like when you find, money in your jeans pocket after doing the laundry, you're just happy to have it, whether it's $5 or $1.
As for Parton, he feels this run means much more than money.
It was, kind of just to show that I was running for a cause and, make sure I could build awareness for it.
Parton plans for all of the donations to go to the Massey Cancer Center. For VCU InSight, I'm Terrence Dixon.
The website offers 20 different types of charity organizations runners can donate to, such as the Alzheimer's Association and the American Red Cross.
Wow, what a great way to raise money.
Runners should definitely check out this website.
I think I'll go for a run once the weather clears up. That's it for this edition of VCU InSight. Make sure to check out our website at insight.vcu.edu.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under VCU InSight. Contact us with any stories you'd like to see on our show.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Matthew Hall.
And I'm Randy Ayala. We'll see you next time.